Hello and welcome to this week's episode of the Edges and Sledges Cricket Podcast. I'm your host Ashwin. I'm joined by DJ this week in London. At the time we're recording this, it's a little late. It's the middle of the night for Varun in Singapore, so he's not on this week. DJ, kind of hard to believe we're wrapping up week 3 of the IPL already. There's been quite a lot of movement on the points table, and so I'm going to get to it and ask you about that, and we'll recap the week. But first, I want to do a quick plug for an amazing interview you did, which is now finally out. So, DJ, do you want to talk a little bit about it? A little bit about the interview with the Mumbai Indians young star?
Yeah, thanks, Ashwin, and nice to see you as always. So, guys, obviously you're used to Monday releases, but this week we released a special episode on Saturday, and that was with the Mumbai Indians and Delhi Ranji cricketer Hrithik Shokeen. Now, those of you who've been following IPL 2023 and 2022 actually will be familiar with Hrithik Shokeen. We go through his journey. We talk about everything from whether he's named after Hrithik Roshan to whether he's a good dancer about bowling to Virat Kohli and how he had to prepare for the Border Gavaskar Trophy. It's a super fun interview, and he even we even had a little bit of a blooper on the promo reel, which was great fun. So yeah, it's just a fun chat, really nice guy. And so guys, if you haven't checked that out, it's on YouTube. That's the longer version, and the Spotify, Apple, Google podcast version is also on. So if you haven't heard that, we'll put a link in the show notes. Go back and have a listen to that, and then come back to this episode to listen to this.
Yeah, but of course, if you're live, then stick with us through it. Send in your questions, thoughts, feedback, and then go back and listen to that later. But DJ, what a week it's been. Before we started this episode, I was spend a few minutes trying to think about, okay, what are we going to talk about? How are we going to cover it? And I was trying to think about this last 1 week of games in the IPL, and I tried to summarize it as is in the description of this episode as low scoring thrillers and somehow 220 plus games that were shockingly close. Does that feel like an adequate description to you?
Yeah, possibly. I mean, the Chinnaswamy featured, of course, and today's CSK game at Chepauk was insane. 235 with the Tala Dhoni coming out right at the end to give his fans a glimpse. But yeah, it was a weird week, man. Like I'm sure we will talk about strike rate, but there were a few low scrolling thrillers. It was good fun. It was a Yeah, usually by the time you get to the midway of the IPL, which we're almost there, right? Games start becoming a bit samey, but I think the likes of KL Rahul have made sure that we've stayed entertained in a good and a bad way.
Yeah, I mean, you wasted no time getting into it. My favorite kind of articulation of a fun stat that I wanted to share is if I told you at about this stage in the IPL, right, where I think we're 1 game away from the halfway stage technically, there was one batter who had made 262 runs, striking at 113.91. Okay. And there's another batter who's made 209 runs, striking at 199.05. And I told you one of them is a test match player for India, has been and is no longer in consideration. Has been a test player for a long time, but is not currently playing. And the other is really seriously looked at as an all format player for India. Which would you bet is which? And there's not a
Yeah,
lot of spoilers for our cricket
the
fans.
first one is
Listen,
obviously Rahane, who's been smashing it.
it's
71 of
unbelievable.
29. And Ramkumar actually in the comments has corrected me. It wasn't at Chepauk. It was at Eden Gardens. But there's that picture as Dhoni came out. It was Dhoni mania, man. There's a
Yeah.
picture as he did his like shoulder, like pushed his shoulders up. There's a picture of like just lights going off everywhere. It was insane. It was
Yeah, and he
just
said that too. That
crazy.
was a pretty amazing press conference for him to just acknowledge everywhere he goes. Those same fans will be wearing KKR jerseys tomorrow. But when he showed up, they just welcomed him and how appreciative he is. And that's the magic the
So,
man has
have
had in
you
this.
put your order in
For my yellow jersey?
for
I
the
thought you were gifting
CSK
me
yellow
one.
jersey?
I thought you were going to gift me one.
Yeah, I'm gonna get you one. I'm gonna come and see you. I'll see you in
This is a
July, so
dangerous thing
I'll
to
get you
say.
one.
Dangerous thing to say on the air. But DJ, a lot of movement actually on the points table, like we've been doing the last couple of weeks. We're not going to go through every single game, but we'll talk through from the perspective of the points table, kind of the interesting matches. Um, Interestingly, obviously we've talked a little about CSK, but since last week, 3 matches, 3 wins, and that has leapfrogged them to the top of the table. I don't know, I can't recall if you have your prediction sheet handy. I think they were on your list of teams to make
CSK
the top
wasn't.
four. They were
CSK was on
not.
no one's
Okay,
list.
on nobody's list. Then you have Rajasthan, Lucknow, Gujarat, who've been kind of stable in those top five-ish in the first couple of weeks. And obviously there's a lot of movement with early games, but they're all at 8 points. You then have RCB and Punjab who have now joined them at 8 points, which is interesting because Punjab sort of iffy. Mumbai Indians have found a little bit of a run. They won 3 in a row, but then obviously they lost again in the weekend doubleheader game. And then at the bottom, you have KKR and Sunrisers with 4 points, just 2 wins out of 6 and 7 games. And the Delhi Capitals, who are still at the bottom,
On the
but have
board,
but
though.
have gotten off the
Finally.
mark, as Dada said. And interestingly, actually, they've only played one game since we last spoke. So when we last got together, the Delhi Capitals were 0 from 5 and now 1 from 6. So let's start with talking about that game really quickly. One of the title of this episode talks about low scoring thrillers. Delhi played KKR. KKR got 127 all out. Pretty good spells from Anik Nokia, Akshar Patel, Ishant Sharma, a nice little knock from Russell at the end and Jason Roy at the top, but nobody else showed up. And then David Warner came out smashing, looked pretty good in the power play. And yeah, it's still somehow needed 19.2 overs for Delhi to chase down. That's what I mean when I'm saying low scoring. I mean, it was a thriller, but also it was shockingly painful. At one point, I said, "Listen, man, if we were 93 or so in 13 overs, and in 7 overs we couldn't make an extra 35 runs, we don't deserve to have gotten the 2 points from this game." And I was frustrated by it. But your thoughts on what was the first of the low scoring thrillers this past week?
So first of all, we're just glad to be on the board, right? Like
Off the
last
mark,
week
as Dada
there
said.
was a question. Yeah. Will Delhi go winless? Now we've had bad seasons, but winless is like basically to next level, boss. Like you lose 14 out of 14. But I mean, we lost five, right? And we won one. But before that, there was a point at which this was a rain interrupted game or rain delayed start. We were getting excited thinking we might actually just get a point without
I
doing
was
anything, right?
convinced this will be our first point only because it's going to be rain affected. And that is so
Yeah.
upsetting as a fan of the team. But anyway,
Yeah.
keep going.
But he also put out a great stat about Prithvi Shaw. I mean, honestly, it's a confidence thing, right? If you gave the same target to, I don't know, Rajasthan Royals or Gujarat Titans, they'd probably smash it in like 14, 15 overs.
Yeah.
Even quicker than that, almost. I saw Chennai get some criticism for chasing that a similar target in 15, 16 overs, and I was just like, wow, okay.
Yeah.
Delhi took it all the way to the 20th over, but nice to get on the board, off the mark, as you say. Still a long way to go, a long, long way to go, but some nice. The wickets were shared around. It was some good signs there. David Warner seems to be, I think he's second or third on the orange cap list. But if you look down that orange cap list, none of those guys are actually in the top. None of their teams are actually in the top four.
Yeah. So let me just run you down that where we are right now. Faf is at the top, and RCB is doing pretty well. So we
Yeah,
give
but
them
they're
some
not top
credit.
four.
Devin Conway has now gone to second as the
Okay,
leading in the
fine.
table. I'm going to skip David Warner, who's third. Virat Kohli is in fourth. Ruturaj Gaikwad is in fifth. So CSK clearly getting some
Mm.
batting prowess up there. KL Rahul is sixth, and then Ayer, Maxwell, etc. The reason I shared that is Faf striking at 163, Devon at 144, Virat at 141, Ruturaj at 148. And then you have David Warner striking at 120.7 and KL striking at 113. So I'm going to table the striker discussion till we talk
Mm.
about luck now. But I mean, it's shocking. David Warner, this is not the David Warner we know. Obviously, his latest things helped his strike rate a little, and it's
Mm.
still pretty abysmal.
But you know what happened? They found the bats. That's what
Yeah,
happened.
we didn't talk about the fact that Delhi's bats, a lot of Delhi's equipment got stolen I think it was when they arrived in Delhi
They
to
were in
play their
transit.
first
Yeah,
game,
yeah.
but they came back to play their first game at the Kotla, and their stuff got stolen. I
But
mean, this is
it's
just,
like a really pathetic excuse for not being able to score any runs.
I mean,
But
on the one hand, it's that. On the other, is that the most Delhi thing ever?
yeah, it is. Plus, also, when your team's bats are stolen, Parth Jindal was presenting Tim Cook with a signed autograph bat. And I was like, that's where all the stolen kit is
Yeah, I
going
mean, you
to
stole the
Apple.
kit to give it to the Apple CEO. Anyway.
Anyway, jokes apart, I mean, it was good to see the guys on the board. KKR underperformed, man, and Delhi capitalized. Good. Well, I didn't mean that, but
Delhi
that's pretty good.
capitalizes. That's a
That's pretty
great
good.
headline.
I surprised
That
myself with
is
that.
an excellent headline, my friend. Yeah, I mean, and let me ask you really quickly. You mentioned the stat I tweeted out, which was basically after scoring 13 in this match, Prithvi Shaw's average for the IPL 2023 shot up. went up by 15%. Like that means he was averaging low single digits and it went to slightly higher low single digits, right? Like what is happening with Shaw? We know we've said many times before, he's a momentum player, he's a confidence player. Once the run comes, it'll come. He started the IPL, then he's got switched to being an impact player. I mean, is it time Delhi looks a different way, or does he need some specific help? Is it a technique thing? What is your thought?
I don't know. I don't know the answer, man. Like
Yeah.
Ricky, I'm sure knows the answer to this, but Shaw, why your openers need to score runs. Like if one guy's striking at 120, he's averaging 60, 70, whatever. You need the other guy to be smashing it really. And so Riley Russo, for example, I think is pretty key in that lineup because he's been in good form and he hits it and he goes from ball one. He doesn't hang around. So maybe one of the options is to drop Prithvi. It's sad because again, going back to the preview, we looked at the lineup, the openers, it looked fine. It was preview and Shaw. It was Warner and Shaw, and they looked fine. So it's I don't know. I don't know what ails him, man. It's he's hit and miss, but that's his high risk, high reward type of game, I guess.
Hit and miss has also been what it seems like when he gets out there. The bowler hits and he misses, and that's it. All right. We'll keep it going. Not a lot to talk about for the Delhi Capitals because they will actually play again tomorrow. And when they play the team that's second from the bottom of the table, twice this week, interestingly. So something about the formatting and the schedule. But of course, I'm talking about the Sunrisers Hyderabad. So very interesting, right? Started the series with 2 losses. Our third co-podcaster who's missing in action today was didn't get rate them super highly before it started. Got a lot of interesting feedback about that from many of our listeners. And then they picked up 2 quick wins, and so suddenly you're like, okay, maybe Harry Brook gets a century, looks good, and then again they're back to back on 2 losses. So it seems like a little bit of a roller coaster for the Hyderabad team. A couple of things I'll call out. The first of their 2 losses this week was against the Mumbai Indians. So 192 for 5. We'll come back and talk about it. But Cam Green looked good, and he seems like he's earning his paycheck. A couple of interesting things. Marco Janssen started playing for the Sunrisers team, and suddenly seems to give them a really good left arm quick option. So I want to ask you about that. And then from a batting standpoint, I mean, chasing 192. And this was in Hyderabad. It's not an easy total to chase, but Mayank looked pretty good. Hendrik Klaassen looked pretty good, but there's no real finisher. So is that kind of what's missing for the Hyderabad team? You got this pretty solid top order, pretty solid middle order too, or medium solid middle order, but nobody to finish games.
Yeah, so I'll take the first one on Janssen first. I think he started playing against them against Punjab, where he blew away Punjab while Shikhar was left standing, right?
I think he
Yeah, I
picked
mean
up 4. Yeah,
he's been a great addition to that team. And yeah, I mean he's a class operator. He can bat as well. Actually, yeah, I've seen him hit some. He played a freak innings in this SAT20. I keep going back to that because I love
yeah.
that tournament. It was such a great tournament in January, where you
He's
don't
a, he's a
actually have that
class
much.
operator or a Heinrich Klaassen operator.
No, he's a class operator.
Okay, just making
Hendrik
sure.
is a class and operator.
There you go.
Anyway, where was I? The thing around their middle order, right? Like you would have
Yeah.
thought Abdul Samad would have stepped up at the lower order. That's their finisher. They retained him. They actually went and retained Samad. So, yeah, they need those guys to step up. Really, it's not worked out. My favorite Sunrisers moment of the week, I think, was Natarajan's daughter meeting Dhoni. That was just a really nice video. I think Natarajan tweeted it was really sweet moment. Also, the other family oriented moment was I think Ashwin's daughter was crying when he got out today in the
Yeah.
last over, which is like I was like, wow, he plays
Yeah.
like 14 of these games and he plays for India. Surely this can't be the work. Maybe she was just sleepy and wanted to go
Yeah, let's go with that. It was just not thrilled. But yeah, interesting. And then the next game the Hyderabad team played, they batted first and only made 134, right? Nobody really seemed to be able to get going. You're seeing Abhishek Sharma came in at the top of the order this time instead of Mayank, which was interesting. And Mayank hasn't looked bad, but hasn't really scored all that quickly. Uh, and again, nobody got going. 134 for 7 in 20 overs. And I mean, Devin Conway basically just wiped out that total on his own. To your point earlier about teams in form being able to chase things down, they took 18 and a half overs, but the CSK side just chased it down. Nobody was able to show up with the ball. I mean, Mayank Dagar came in the previous game against or no, actually came in just in this game, and yeah, just feels like something's missing for the CSK team. And we got an interesting comment coming, which is that
SRH team.
excuse me, for the SRH team. Interesting comment. They released their best finisher, Rashid Khan. I mean, Rashid Khan, both with the ball, obviously, but and with the bat, he's actually an excellent finisher. He can hit the ball.
Yeah.
So good comment.
Man, I was listening somewhere that this is like one of the worst releases, and I think it was the cricket podcast
Hmm.
that they were talking about releases and retention. That must go down as one of the worst releases in the history of uh, of IPL cricket, right? Like Rashid
It's
Khan
yeah,
from SRH being released, and I mean, I can't even remember who they retained apart from Samad and Kane Williamson, I think,
yeah. I mean, pretty crazy
who
when they
they've
start.
like got rid of now.
Yeah, yeah. Right. Okay. And there was a lot else happened in that Mumbai game in particular that I want to talk about. I'll try to be disciplined about talking about it when we come to talk about the Mumbai Indians team in particular. Next team up from the bottom of the order was KKR. So we talked a little bit about the KKR versus Delhi game. DJ, in the spirit of me saying I want to be disciplined but forgetting, I want to come back and ask you one last thing about Delhi. Ishant Sharma. We didn't talk about
Yeah,
him. Came back in and just managed to just kind of show up, right? What was his
rolled
final
back the
stats? He
years.
2 for 19 in 4 overs, getting some nice swing.
Yeah,
Ended up winning player of the match. I mean, that great to see.
it was superb. Actually, I saw some of the content from the Delhi handle before the game, and they were showing him running in the net, and I was like, "Yeah, we have Ishant. Why is he just being used
Hmm.
to hand out caps to like Yash Dhul and stuff?" I mean, look at all the one of the themes of this IPL has been all the players that we thought were done and dusted,
Yeah,
like
it's true.
Amit Mishra ji,
Piyush Chawla.
who I said had got coach body ready. Piyush Chawla, another coach body ready. Ishant Sharma, the last time I remember seeing him playing was in the Lord's Test match in 2020, 2021. The
Sure.
famous Lord Test match, the
Yeah.
Kohli with the Dio at the balcony.
20,
That's when
right?
he
I think
last played. It's 23
19.
now. No, it's 21, and
21.
and
Yeah.
it's 23 now. That's the last time I remember him playing. Um, who are the other oldies? Rahane.
Rahane,
Why he's
Piyush
not an oldie,
Chawla.
but like Piyush Chawla, it's crazy. But it was so good to see Ishant like
Yeah.
make that
Good.
comeback. It's leader of the attack, man. He's a 100 test match bowler. He'll
Yeah.
bring you something.
Pretty incredible, actually. So, all right. So now I'm going to stay disciplined. Let's talk about KKR, right? Their kind of momentum has really dropped off a cliff,
Mm,
if you will. Two out of the first three matches, and then just four losses in a row. And so we talked
mm.
about the first couple that hit, but let's talk about the next two. One was against the Delhi side, and then, of course, against the CSK side, who everybody lost to this week. And when we talk about them, we'll share some of it. But how much of KKR do you think is a little bit of a selection structure issue, right? So they started their tournament. I mean, the previous match basically going into this, Venkatesh Iyer, remember, didn't start with played as an impact sub in many cases, even though he was retained and he was used as a bowler in many cases. But Gurbaz was opening. Varun talked about him for a bit, saying, "Hey, we hope he comes good, but he doesn't seem like he's delivering." And then Jagadishan was opening, and then in this game they changed both. They brought Jason Roy in, who's obviously a class player in T20, so you have to
But
play.
then he
But
batted like,
but
what
then
did
they
he
bought
bat?
him. Then he
Roy.
in there against Delhi, he opened, but
Yeah.
he batted
But
at basically a run a ball.
today he batted at like 5 or something
Today he
against
did bat at
CSK.
5. Yeah,
He
he did,
came
and he
down. It
made
was
61
crazy.
of 26 balls, which is
Yeah.
outstanding knock in a big chase. But then they also brought in Leighton Das for one game, kept played at the top of the order, and then didn't play that second one. Now then they had Venkatesh Iyer and Nitish Rana, who stayed fairly consistent. Mandeep was playing in the middle order. He's been since dropped. They tried Narayan at the top. Then they brought David Visa back in. Like I'm going down this laundry list just to say how chaotic
Yeah.
it seems, right?
Yeah. 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 Rinku's the only one who's been pretty consistent in all of this.
I
He
mean,
scored
it's
like a 200 strike rate, 40 odd in every
sh-
game.
shockingly that's true. Russell has blown hot and cold. Nitish Rana is starting to find form, but Rinku's been consistent. Yeah,
Yeah, love him. What a guy. Yeah, now that you've run down that list, that's completely crazy. I don't know how they've been or why they've been doing that. Often, like the Narayan opening thing today was just reeked of desperation, like why? Why would he
And
do
then he
that?
got out in the first over, right? Like just
Yeah.
they, yeah,
Why
just didn't
why would
work.
he do that? I mean, you've got it, but someone's pointed out that maybe Jason Roy's batting down the order was because of
Yeah,
an
in that
injury.
case today, I think while he was fielding or trying to take a catch, he got injured, and
Yeah,
so then he wasn't able to come on. At some point, they thought he wouldn't actually bat,
yeah.
and then eventually, when he was patted up,
Yeah.
it was a good sign.
By the way, he took a catch today and he turned around and said something to the crowd, I think, which was a bit weird because I don't know. I've been seeing, I don't know whether they were saying anything to him or what, but like there's been a lot of interesting, like, off, like, camera cuts. Like there was one Kohli celebrating Josh Butler getting out for a zero, which I particularly enjoyed.
Yeah, you seem to enjoy that. That was too early for me, so I haven't seen the highlights of that one
Yeah,
yet.
but yeah, there's been a few like Bishnoi has taken a few catches and looked back at the crowd, and it's like I don't know why an Indian player would do that. Maybe crowds are getting more and more into their franchise
I mean, it's interesting. I
support.
don't think it's a bad thing if the players are feeling the passion and engaging,
Mm,
but yeah. So let's quickly talk then about that CSK game against the KKR side. Obviously, the KKR bowlers just didn't show up, right? I mean, if Varun Chakravarti is bowling, giving 1 for 49, you bring
mm.
in David Visa 0 for 38. You bring in Kulwant Kedrolia, who played a game, then missed a game, then came back, but 2 for 44 from just 3 overs. I mean, shout out to Suya Sharma, who picked up 1 for 29, who actually looked the best.
What a ball
Um,
to get it, Rutu also clueless.
yeah, you seemed excited about that. But so
Great ball.
where does KKR go? Do you start relying on Roy at the top of the order, making Russell play a more proactive role? Do you do what I said last time? Like, is Russell's just a liability at this point? Man, he can
Yeah,
barely bowl consistently. He bowled 1 over today,
one
gave
over for
17.
17.
Like,
Yeah,
what's the long term plan with Russell?
I don't know, man. Like it's like they're not wanting to use him. Also, like it seems like he's being used. Where does he bat? 7 or 8? Like, do you really need to use him that low down the order? I mean, you could bat him up the order. You could push everyone else up, right? Like it seems. I don't know. Um, you've got Narayan, you've got Chakravarti, you've got Suyash. But where are the quicks? Like in the beginning, you had Saudi, right? And he was playing. He's gone. Umesh has come in, but like you've kind of, I don't know. Now you have to play Royce. You need to take some foreign player out, right? So I don't know. They've got problems now, both with batting and bowling. And the question is, where is the Lord, your X factor for KKR,
I
Ashwin?
mean, seriously. Yeah.
Where is
Anyway,
he?
I think it's also then you add in the wicket keeper is a really important kind of role to like have bowlers rally around. And you
Mm,
played Gurbaz, then you played Litton, then you played Jagdish. I mean, if you're constantly rotating that spot,
yeah,
to your point, reeks of desperation. Seems like something's
yeah.
missing. So
Yeah, it's
hopefully
not a
KKR
bad
can.
side again. It's just being
No,
managed in a weird way, which is like,
and
particularly
it
since
makes
they
you
won that
wonder.
5 6s game, they've just gone downhill from there.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about if not for a freak Rinku show in innings, there would have
They'd be
been
same as
one
Delhi.
from seven, right? Same as Delhi with one extra. So it's
Yeah.
kind of crazy when you put it that way. And the only team that got points, Delhi only got points because of KKR, right?
Can I just say we're really glad? I'm really glad we hit back at all our critics as the iron was hot. That's
That's
all
it.
I can say.
That's it.
Timing is
That's it.
everything in this game,
Timing
man.
is everything. All right. Speaking of timing, we're going to keep this moving. Let's talk about the Mumbai Indians, right? Started with a couple of losses. I had them pegged for some success this year. They then got 3 wins in a row. After since last week's episode, they had win and then lost to Punjab. But a couple of things I want to talk about. First, in the Mumbai KKR game, right? Let's talk about the one man who bats at 3 for them, who returned to form. And actually, in this game, actually, we talked about this. I'm sorry. We talked about Sky already, right? Am I behind? We talked about Sky captaining, Rohit fielding.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
we've already covered this one.
That was one of the greatest sections of Edges and Sledges ever.
All right, so let's then talk about the other 2 games. And it was interesting. Mumbai against the Hyderabad team batted first, made 192. We talked about Hyderabad not being able to chase it, but how critical does Cam Green become? And we're getting some questions in about, comments in rather that Green looks really good. I mean, he's now looks pretty consistent with the ball. Feels like he's finding his footing in Indian conditions,
Mm.
and made 64 in this game, backed ably by Rohit and Kishan, who got them off to a good start and got to 192 runs.
Yeah, he got 100 as well in the last Border Gavaskar Trophy Test match. So he's learning how to play in Indian conditions. Can bat, can bowl, 2 meters tall, can catch on the boundary. He's staying fit, which is also important. He's like Chris Morris plus, basically.
There you go. Chris Morris plus. Nobody's ever been described by that. Then the other guy from Mumbai I want to talk about is against the Hyderabad team. They were 170. Hyderabad was 173 for 8 in 19 overs. Cameron Green has been bowled out. You're going down the list as the skipper. You're saying Jason Behrendorff has been bowled out. Riley Meredith has been bowled out. Piyush Chawla has been bowled out. Hrithik Shokeen bowled one. You're not going to give him the 20th over. So who do you have to throw this ball to for the 20th over? His baby Tendulkar, his Arjun Tendulkar, right? First ball, dot. Second ball, run out. Wide, 2 runs, one leg by, and then gets a wicket. And Mumbai win by 14 runs when he had 20 to defend. And it feels like social media just broke, right? Sachin posted stuff. Everybody went crazy. And I'm saying this because cricket is harsh some days because the next day wasn't quite as good for him. But yeah, what was your thoughts on seeing the left arm quick Arjun Tendulkar basically winning or saving the game for Mumbai?
This was his second game, though. I think he'd made his debut
Correct. Yeah,
the
yeah.
week
But
before.
giving him the ball in the 20th over is pretty
Yeah,
big.
but it just shows you how poor the Mumbai bowling attack is. Honestly, like
That's
I'm
actually a
sorry
good
to
take.
say
That's a good
about
takeaway. Yeah.
this to Mumbai fans, but if you're having to hand the ball to Arjun Tendulkar in the 20th over, you guys have trouble, man.
I mean, this is
Um,
the side who theoretically has Bumrah and Archer, who got
yeah,
a lot of their wins off of Malinga and
yeah,
that caliber of bowlers. And now you have, no offense to them, but Jason Behrendorff and Riley Meredith as your spearheads,
yeah.
and Piyush Chawla
But
has been
PP is the
outstanding.
guy.
But he's been
PP is the one taking all
outstanding,
the
and
wickets.
that's crazy, right? The fact that your bowling is relied on PP. Anyway, keep going. Yeah.
Yeah, it was insane. It's a nice moment because I think this is he's already surpassed his dad, Tendulkar Senior, in that
Hmm.
Sachin does not have an IPL wicket. It's,
Yeah. Yeah.
so and also happy birthday to Mr. Tendulkar. It's
Oh
coming up tomorrow,
yeah. Yeah. Tomorrow,
24th
the
of April,
24th. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
1973.
Yeah.
The Sharjah innings in 98 obviously is going to be played tomorrow because everyone remembers that. But man, yeah, shit, we're old. If you're watching Arjun Tendulkar take wickets
And then let's
in the
talk
IPL.
quickly about the next game at the Wankhede, where Mumbai Indians ended up losing to the Punjab Kings by 13 runs. And I'm not going to talk all the details of Punjab, but just from a Mumbai standpoint, I mean, similarly, right? 2 for 15 for Chawla. You had Archer come back in this one expensive, gave 1 for 42. Cam Green picked up 2 wickets, but gave for 41 runs. And the tough part was Sam Curran and Harpreet Singh Brar picked up 31 runs off that Arjun Tendulkar over. I mean, how tough is cricket at this point, right? You've saved a match for your country, picked up wicket for your franchise, excuse me, picked up wickets, and then you go for 31, including extras, and it's just tough, right?
Yeah, it's tough. That's cricket, and I mean, it just shows you what Mumbai has gone from, and what Rohit has had to deal with. From at one point having Bumrah, Trent Bolt, and Malinga at his disposal to bowl. It's a test of his captaincy, I would say. It's and we'll see. I mean, a lot of the argument around Rohit's captaincy, like Ponting's captaincy, he was just handed a great team and just go and win stuff. But we'll see if that happens this year with the substandard bowling attack that he's having to deal with at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely right. It's a good, as tough a test for a captain as you can get, right?
It
All right,
looks
but
like he's
getting
recovered from his stomach bug at least, so that's good.
that's true. He's finally back. I mean, I wasn't sure. I don't know how much more he could have gotten away with not captaining so that he could sit out the fielding innings. But anyway, right, we're getting to the mid-table piece. We'll do one more and then we'll take a quick break. But DJ, let's talk about the Punjab side. So a couple of good wins early on, a couple of losses then. Right before we recorded last week's episode, they had just beaten the Lucknow team by 2 wickets, which is a big win. Then they incurred a pretty big loss, unfortunately, to the RCB side before beating Mumbai, and we just talked about that. But let's talk about their game against the RCB side. I mean, Kohli and Faf gave them absolutely nothing. The two bowlers go at 10 runs and over, being Nathan Ellis and Harpreet Brar, who've been pretty important to them. Arshdeep looked pretty good. Sam Curran looked pretty good with the ball, and yeah, just couldn't come up with the goods with the bat. So and then you start looking down the list and you say, okay, they opened with Tharvataide and Prab Simran Singh, Matthew Short at 1, Liam Livingston at 2, Harpreet Singh Bhatia, who has now come good at 3 down, and then you have Sam Curran, Jitesh Sharma. Some kind of captaincy errors here with Shikhar out. Your openers seem a little bit wishy-washy, if you will. And no, again, no offense meant to those two, but just in terms of experience. And then Jitesh seems like he's being used far too late as a guy who
Yeah,
showed his ability to hit sixes, and Shah Rukh Khan just playing even below him and just hasn't come good this year, right?
yeah. It's again weird batting order stuff. Is Livingston still injured, or he started playing?
No, he's back. So he played these both games this week.
Yeah, but he should be batting three for them, man. Honestly,
Correct. So
like,
he batted four both times, right? They
yeah,
rotated the top three, where Short
yeah,
opened today and
yeah.
Taide batted at three, but Livingston still playing four, Harpreet still playing five.
Yeah, for me, Short should be opening the batting with Prab Simran, and Livingston should bat three. Why not?
And again,
He's,
when Dhawan comes back, what's the game plan?
yeah, well, then Shekhar can come back and open with the Prab Simran, and then you've dropped one down, but you don't have him just now. So
Yeah.
again, you should be giving your batters the best chance to succeed, right? Like, who's more likely to get you 100 in a T20 game? Just look at what happened to Maxwell when he's gone, right? Maxwell has gone to RCB. He's been given the confidence to score the runs, and he's delivering the goods. Whereas in Punjab or wherever he was before, or was he back in Delhi for a while? I can't remember. He's moved around so much.
It's too difficult
But he
to
would
figure
bat
out.
like five, six sometimes because his only job was that he can go and hit sixes. These guys are proper batsmen. They're proper batters. So give
Yep.
Livingston a chance to score 100. He'll probably deliver one for you.
Yeah, absolutely right. I couldn't agree more. Hopefully Dhawan will be back and they'll get some balance. But honestly, if you're a Punjab fan sitting here, 8 points from 7 matches, one more win, and you're honestly into second place, right? So sixth is a little misleading because of the net run rate. I think I think they're not going to be super unhappy about it. And with that, we've covered the bottom five. DJ, why don't we take a really quick break? We'll come back, talk about the top five teams, and then a little bit about fantasy cricket and wrap us up. If you're watching on YouTube, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and we will be right back. Welcome back to the Edges and Sledges Cricket Podcast. DJ, we're into the top five teams. I mean, what separates RCB, Gujarat, Lucknow, Rajasthan as your teams two to five, and Punjab at six is just net run rate. So it's really close. It's a close kind of mid-table scrap. With again, CSK still only being 2 points ahead. But let's talk about RCB, right? Since we last recorded, they had 3 games. They had a pretty tough loss to the CSK, which we're going to talk about a little bit. And then, of course, they beat Punjab and they beat Rajasthan, which was an impressive match. So good run, arguably for the Royal Challengers. 226 is what they conceded to the CSK side, right? Some Devon Conway heroics. Nice knock from Shivam, who was my X factor, and I will table and we'll talk about him during the CSK innings. But gosh, chasing 226 to get to 218. I mean, 226 I think would have been a record chase for any franchise in the IPL. I think the highest chase I remember is 224 if I remember reading stats. But if you're watching on YouTube, correct me in the comments if you get it. But Faf made 62 off 33, Maxwell 76 off 36, who you just alluded to. DK looked like he was almost good, and they just fell a little bit short. But I want to ask you just about two things for RCB. One, Faf and Maxwell, right? The overseas. This is a side that's had AB and Gale, and then they've just had quality overseas players. But these guys seem to be taking it to the next level. And two, Mohammad Siraj. Talk to me about that guy and his evolution as an all format cricketer for India.
Yeah, he's. I mean, Faf and Maxi are obviously doing the job. Kohli's obviously back in form, making runs. The rest of the batting is, I think, someone sent a meme about. Basically, there was nothing to follow after those three guys. But a little bit of DK, I guess. Um, but no matter how many runs you score, you've got to defend them. And so Siraj was actually one of the retentions, if you remember. Um, and we were all flabbergasted why Siraj had been retained after someone like a Chahal had been let go. So successful at the Chinnaswamy, so many wickets at the Chinnaswamy. But he's now shown you he can play Test match cricket after making his debut in the Border Gavaskar Trophy down under, bowling with all his heart. They're doing well in England, so that's Test match take. He is the ODI strike bowler in the power play. He takes wickets up front, and this IPL particularly, he has done. I think he's probably the purple cap holder at this point. I think he's got the purple cap.
He does. He's got 13 wickets. Whew, I had to quickly pull that up. So thanks for putting me on the spot. He's got 13 wickets. And he is slightly ahead of Arshdeep, who also has 13
Yeah,
wickets, but he's given 200 runs where Arshdeep is given 204. So he's got a
yeah,
slightly better average. But yeah, I mean, pretty incredible, right? And then you have Chahal, Rashid Khan, and Tushar Deshpande all tied for 12 wickets. So it's, again, close fight. But yeah, great to see Siraj
yeah.
up there, right?
It's also nice to hear my pick for the purple cap being in the mix, and my pick for the orange cap, Shubman Gill,
Your
also
pick
top
was
side.
Chahal, right? For the purple cap?
Chahal, yeah. Chahal
I
had
mean,
the purple cap for a little while, actually.
yeah, I mean, mine was Shami, and he's eighth right now in the order. He's got 10 wickets, and he's played one
They've
less game
played
than me.
fewer games,
Yeah, they've
right?
played
Which was nice
one
to
less
see.
game,
Yeah. And
so he could
Shubman's
pick
going to
up
score 100 also,
if
so that's
Shami
fun.
picks up a four for in the next game, I'll be in the lead. But yeah, I mean, of course, I mean, we're talking about the loss to CSK, but where Siraj really showed up was against the Punjab Kings
Yeah.
side, where he, despite despite some of the other bowlers being expensive, he went for 4 for 21 in a
Mm.
4 over spell, and that includes dismissing Atharva right at the top of the order, Liam Livingston, and then he got Harpreet Brar and Nathan Ellis to wrap it up, including got a nice run out. So just a great game for him. But yeah, so I'm not really writing off Bangalore's loss to CSK because A, everybody lost to CSK this week. They just had a great week. And B, getting to 218 and chasing 226 is a lot worth being proud of. So I think you take home a lot from that. But then yeah, making 174 against the Punjab side and defending it admirably. And again, Faf made 84. Kohli made 59. Nobody else made any runs. Nobody else needed to. And then against the Rajasthan team, which is formidable and ahead of them on the points table, they made 189.
Yeah, but
Faf
at
made
one point it looked
62.
like they were going to get like 250 when they
Yeah, they should
started.
have, right? So again, that's one of the things I wanted to ask you about, right? You're sitting there at about what 150 with 14 overs done, and you're still only 3-4 down. You should absolutely be getting 200 plus, but nobody from the lower order showed up. And so, last question about RCB before we keep moving: what role does Hasaranga play for them? At the Chinnaswamy, he has some wily deliveries. He can be reasonable, but neither him nor David Willey, nobody really has showed up with the bat. But arguably, they're both good batters, both good hitters too. So
Mm.
thoughts, is that their weakest spot right now?
I don't know actually. They could have had one more win if Harshal had managed to get into a super over by affecting that run
Hmm.
out at the bowler's end, right? So
That was your
uh,
favorite moment of this
I
IPL,
think
right?
that's the my most favorite moment of the IPL so far. Just that missed bunker is just next level. I
I mean,
mean.
it's just ridiculous. It's just anyway. Yeah, I've
But
watched
today,
that clip.
actually, Harshal was bowling the last over and Ashwin was on the crease. And I'm like, this is why you redeem yourself by munkering Ashwin.
If he had gotten
That would
Ashwin
be
out, that would have been
sweet.
unbelievable. Just
That would have been
unbelievable.
so sweet. I mean, like Ashwin's taking a start off the last ball and running off, and like
But you
this
know what would
time,
have happened, right? This time Harshal would have clipped the bails and Ashwin's bat would have been grounded and he would have used that to send a message say, yes, this is how it gets done.
don't leave your stay within the line or whatever. But no,
Yeah, exactly.
sorry, where I've got completely sidetracked again. What was I
We were just
saying?
talking about the finishing, right? And you were saying
Yeah.
had RCB could have had one extra win if Harshal had pulled that off.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think they've done badly. I think they've done well. I mean, the Chinnaswamy is a bit of a crazy stadium to try and defend runs in, so I think they did well today against Rajasthan, which is a very good side. Right, today they played at the Chinnaswamy,
They
and
did, yeah.
below 200 was surprising.
Defending below 200 against Joss
Yeah,
Butler, Sanju Samson, Jaiswal Padikkal,
yeah,
Hetmeyer, Dhruv Jurel is an
yeah,
absolutely outstanding
yeah.
task.
It was pretty
And
good.
again, shout out, I mentioned David Willey with the bat hasn't really showed up a lot yet, but 1 for 26, 6.5 runs and over at the Chindaswamy. Harshal 3 for 32, Siraj 1 for 39. I mean, the bowlers just stepped up today, right? Max, that fifth bowler slot is leaving a little bit to be desired with Maxwell bowling two and Vijay Kumar Vishak, I don't know how you pronounce his name, just not quite showing up today. But I would take a win, make 189 at the Chinnaswamy and get a win. You take that every day,
Yeah,
Vicky.
they've escaped there. I think against the
Yeah,
lineup like RR. Honestly,
yeah. All right, let's talk about the Gujarat team. We've only played one game actually since
What a
we.
game it
But
was.
what a game it was! Talk us through it, DJ. Do you have that? I don't know if you have the scorecard
I
handy.
haven't got the scorecard, but they scored 126, right? Which is pretty
135 for
poor. Oh, us
135.
135. Yeah, sorry, I'm thinking of the KKR game. Scored so the it was 136 to get, and Pandya struggled. I think he got like 40 odd less than run a ball as well. And at that point, I was thinking he's helping his coffee with current friend out here, saying like strike rate is overrated and all. Um, there are a few. I think Riddhi Pops got a few away.
Yeah, so let me
Uh,
just run through because I have it open. 135. Riddhi pops. Ridhiman made 47 of 37. Gill got out again for a duck. So that's something to talk about. And we can just let's talk both Gujarat and Lucknow together because this
yeah,
was
this
the
is the
highlight of the week, if you
main
will.
game.
Yeah, and that's also fourth and third in the points table. So we're getting there
Yeah,
anyway. Hardik made
the coffee
66.
clash. This is.
Let's call it the coffee clash. 135 for 6. Kronal picked up 2 for 16. Stonis picked up 2 for 20. And then the Lucknow team chasing it was 50 odd runs in the power play of 6 overs. KL Rahul was batting at a strike rate, I want to say, of 180, 190 at one point. Kyle
Yeah, he got
Mayers
50 of 38 balls, I think.
and then talk us through it. 128 for 7. And the quote specifically, I think, that came up was, I have no idea what happened. I don't know how that match slipped away from us, that
Yeah.
KL Rahul said. And most of us, actually, we know exactly what happened, right? We can
It's
tell you exactly what it
it's
slipped away.
honestly unbelievable. Most of us who aren't hardcore would have just turned off the television by then. It's a chase people like do in their sleep. Yo, I don't know, that's 7 wickets left or 8 wickets
Hmm.
left at one point
Hmm.
with 31 to get of 36, 39, 30, 38 balls,
Yeah, they were
something
110 for 3 with Puran still at the crease, Puran and Rahul at the crease. So that means you needed 26 runs in like 20 odd balls with Nicholas Puran. Actually, it was even
but
worse
that
than that.
was
When sorry, I'm trying to do the math live. When Krunal Pandya got out, they needed 30 runs of 34 balls with 9 wickets in hand.
yeah. And I remember 31 of 36, 37 balls, right? With nine
With
wickets in hand.
9 wickets in hand, which
Yeah.
you're just thinking, all right, let's turn it off. We're
It's
done.
just like, this is what's the point of this? Let's go on to the next game. And then they somehow just contrived, and Rahul contrived to do this. Just build pressure on himself, and like the Gujarat Titans bowled well, they fielded well, they built pressure, and they just let LSG literally implode. And the implode they did in spectacular fashion. It was like watching a car crash in slow motion, literally, because you kind of knew what was coming,
So
but
he
you were
so he made
hoping it didn't happen.
So he made 50 of 33 balls and then took 18 balls for his, sorry, took 28 balls for his next 18. I mean, that's
I think
shocking.
that
That is
tells you everything.
shocking.
This is a guy who holds. I keep saying this: the fastest IPL 50, jointly held by this guy. It's not like he can't hit the ball, but like if you're not able to get it off the square, get out and send Stoinis in or some. There's like a billion of these guys that will win you the game.
So is this, though, the clearest example we've seen? We talked a lot about the strategic retirement. And, for me, I don't think that was needed in this. I think Rahul should have just started swinging and edged the
Yeah,
ball or got bowled or whatever.
yeah,
But yeah, I mean, as a skipper, it's just absolutely shocking.
yeah.
31 for
You
36 with 9 wickets in hand.
you won't have done a strategic retirement. I mean, that's like suicide for his career, right? Like
Yeah.
Ashwin can do it because he's basically a bowler that can
No,
bat.
yeah, that's totally different. Yeah,
So, but this guy, if he does it, he would be crucified for it. And I mean, the logic is that he's the set batsman; he should get them home.
yeah, yeah.
And I mean, of course, Gujarat bowled well, but this was appalling. And like, it's almost like woeful to see him do it. And he was my fantasy vice captain, so I was happy he got a 50. But it was, it was pretty terrible. It
Yeah.
was like the anti of the worst way to play T20 cricket, to just let pressure build and then to just lose.
It was
And
painful. It was just painful to look at,
it
right? To
was,
watch.
yeah, it was pretty hard to watch. And it just shows you that he isn't
I think
he's
Varun's message, sorry, just to say, is KL Rahul is the most stubborn person I've ever met.
Yeah,
It
that's what he
just
said.
seems like he's digging his heels in. And by the way, this is a guy who struck at 160, 170 during the power play. He knows how to do it. He knew he could. He knew on a sluggish pitch he needed to get his team off to a good start, and he did. Then after getting from 50 to 30 to 50 off 33 balls, he just dug his heels in and said, "Strike rate doesn't matter. I'm going to take it deep." I mean, it it's shocking. It's just
But
shocking.
but tell me two things. One, we all work corporate jobs. If you got this amount of feedback consistently about the same thing, would you or would you not do something about it before you got fired?
Yeah, you'd think you would, but I think the threat of the risk of losing your job or the risk of getting demoted or whatever needs to be significant enough. It doesn't seem like there's any
But
risk to
this
me right
is
now.
this is the point. This is the second point. This is the franchise that fired MS Dhoni as captain for the rising Pune Super Giant.
Yeah,
You have to. It's the same group that owns it. He wasn't happy. The owner wasn't happy with MS Dhoni
yeah,
in 2017 and replaced him with Steve Smith.
yeah. That's fair. I mean, you
So the threat should be pretty significant,
it
in my
should be,
view.
and yet it hasn't been real. He keeps making 50s. He's getting orange caps. He's doing fine on some of the metrics and just not winning games. So I'm with you. I think they're also, let's be clear, they're sitting pretty at third in the table right now. They got a playoff spot coming their way. They if they keep it going. So it's un, some of it is, yes, you may be getting feedback, but you're delivering results, and in the corporate world, that's fine too in some
But
situations.
it's yeah, true. But it's also like the previous game. Also, they defended the lowest total in the IPL,
Yeah,
and it was because they had the lowest power play score in that game as well. I think they scored 37 runs in that game for no
yeah,
loss.
yeah,
And then I think the Cricinfo article was like bowlers save LSG from answering tough questions or something, and
yeah.
the tough questions were your X factor strike rate.
Strike rate. So far so
What a
good on
call,
my.
man!
So far so
Too
good,
good.
and we have one more that I want to talk about. But quick shout out to Avesh, who had a pretty good outing with Lucknow this week. But we're going to go to the top two teams now, DJ, and we've talked a lot about them, so I won't spend too much time. But I want to talk about Rajasthan and CSK. So Rajasthan had 8 points at the last time we recorded this episode, and actually lost both their games this week. So I want to ask you just two quick things about Rajasthan. One, is there a little bit of an over reliance on Joss Butler? I mean, he makes 40 to 50 runs pretty consistently, and you're chasing 189 at the Chinnaswamy is pretty doable. But when Butler got out for duck, even though others tried to step up, Dhruv Jurel tried really hard at the end. They couldn't get it done. So how important is that guy to this team?
They need Butler, man, to score runs. We saw that game that the others managed to pull through with the Hetmeyers and all at the end. He got a duck in that game as well, I think. Um, but today was a wow ball by Siraj that went through his defenses, and it was like, what? I wish you just produced that in the World Cup T20 World Cup back in November. That would have been great then. But I mean, they are reliant on him. Yashasvi is a great opener. He's doing really well. I think he's had a standout IPL so far. Actually, I don't know his stats, but he's looked good. He's hit the ball cleanly. He's timing it well. He's getting the big shots away. He's matching Butler shot for shot. He's not overawed by the big man in the middle, and I think he's looking superb. But again, I mean, you lose a couple of games. They've got a pretty. I saw their coach Sangha saying like, "It happens. I know you guys are disappointed, but just stay cool. It's going to be fine. The games come quickly. Focus on the next one." Today they would have been disappointed because I think at the halfway mark, after getting Kohli for a duck first ball, they would have expected to chase down 190 at the Chinnaswamy.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, absolutely right. Couldn't agree more. But I mean, still good signs for Rajasthan. I think Sanju Samson has again blown hot or cold, as we talked about and have predicted a little. But I think he needs to come good. I think if you've seen Padikkal and support Jaiswal pretty well. I think as soon as Butler and Samson starts coming good consistently, they'll be an unstoppable side. So are you laughing because I say Samsung?
No, no, I've just seen the comment that's just coming from Rishi actually.
Oh, this one here.
Yeah, which says Q1 and eliminate at Chepak. It's like this season has been scripted for MS Dhoni. What better way to lead you into your favorite franchise?
Right. So let's talk about this. I mentioned it a few times. They've won all three games this time around, this week at least. A couple of interesting things to talk about. Obviously, Devon Conway has been absolutely outstanding, and Ruturaj has ably supported him and led a few times himself, and just a great opening pair. But the surprise, I think, if you had told me numbers 3 and 4 for them, that would have been reliable. And let me just run through this. Rahane scored 31 of 19. Then he scored 37 of 20, I think it was. And then he had one bad outing, picked up, and then of course 71 of 29. So those are the 3 or 4 scores I'm trying to go through. Number 4 for a little while, Shivam Dubey hasn't played at 4 for every game, but made 50 of just 21 balls today. And also made a 52 of 27 against the RCB side. So I'm trying to run through all these scorecards quickly. But I mean, that is the surprise, right? To follow Devon Conway and Ruturaj with Hane and Shivam Dubey when you have, Rayudu, Moin, Ravindra Jadeja, and MSD himself to kind of follow. That 3 and 4 has really been the game changers for
Yeah.
them in the season. And my X factor pick for Chennai was Shivam Dubey.
Yeah, what a call. And again. But it's amazing because in the preview I said that batting looked tired, right? It looked like a little bit slow, a little bit old. But I don't know what it is with those guys. I thought they'd be heavily reliant on Moeen and Ben Stokes. Stokes hasn't even played half the games.
And Moin has been decent with the ball, but
Yeah.
not at all really
And so I
reliable.
would have expected those guys to be the explosive players. I think somewhere Virat Kohli mentioned that Raidu was the most underrated IPL player. And I
Yeah,
was
I
like,
saw that this week too.
hilarious. Yeah, but I mean, these guys have just been doing it for so long. And they continue to just do it. And like Dhoni's doing his thing today again. He just pulled out the Dhoni review system in the last over. And you thought that, okay, maybe he's just doing it because it's the last over and he has a review left. No, it's never wrong. It's unbelievable how accurately he reviews it. And he's got the slinger, the new slinger,
Yeah,
Pathirana.
yeah. They have a Mahesh, but
That's
I'm getting
Tikshana.
Mahesh Thikshana, and how do you pronounce this guy's name? His
So
name
the
is Pathirana.
Pathirana guy is like he's got like RPO of
Matisha Pathirana. That's what it is.
yeah.
Mahesh and Matish.
So he's got like a slinger which is 6 economy in the death overs, bowling really well. I mean, bowling at 90 kilometers
I'm
per hour.
always
Where did they find
worried.
him? Tushi is doing well under Dhoni,
Yeah, Deshpande is fantastic to see.
ex Delhi Capital boy. Tushi.
Yeah. And that's the thing. We talked about it with Rohit. I think the Capital are best bowlers, and full credit to them. I mean, you said the batting looks tired. Not a lot of people gave them a really good shot this year. But if you can extract value from Deshpande, Rahane, Dubey, etc., full credit to you. Absolutely full
How?
credit.
How? This is the Joginder Sharma touch. The
Yeah, they have an
Dhoni touch is
interesting.
like it's just insane.
What I think is going to be interesting is they have a tough run coming up for me, right? Rajasthan, Punjab, Lucknow, Mumbai. 4 tough games before then they wrap up their season playing Delhi twice and KKR. So they got 4 top teams before they play 3 matches against the 2 teams at the bottom of the table. Do you think CS is going to be able to keep this up?
Oof. I wouldn't put it past them, man. They've surprised us. The issue is they've gone bottom, top, bottom, right? And today I was watching Rituraj smash it, and I remembered the comment that Dhoni had made saying youngsters lack spark. Do you remember that
Yeah.
comment in
Yeah.
2020?
I
And
mean,
Rituraj
Dhoni's
is
also said some interesting stuff. He's been sassy in the press conferences this year,
what
right?
did he say?
He talked about, he gave them some hard time for not getting the best catch award, which again, nobody really cares about. But he said, how come I didn't get the best catch award? Then he said a few times, if you misfield or drop catches again, you won't be playing another game. And a few things like that. He's been sassy. I think he's ready to
He's
enjoy
having
his right to the finish.
he's having fun, and also he's he took a couple of good catches this week. I don't think we notice it enough, but he's like 41, 42 years old, and the balls went very high up, and they were tough catches, which you just expect him to take it.
Yeah, he claims it. The ball's swirling and he
Yeah,
grabs it and you just
and
think,
he
okay,
does
that's
it
what I
like weirdly
expected.
above his head, or I
Yeah.
don't know what
And
it
then there
is.
was
Ugly,
also a
but it's so
couple,
effective.
I think there were a couple that weren't eventually out, but just reminded me of the speed of stumpings
Yeah,
was just and a Chepauk, small, slower stadium spin bowlers. But The
Yeah.
speed with which he whips the bails off,
There's
even at
a
41, was
clip on the
legendary.
ICC website or the ICC Instagram today about is there a better combination than Jaddu and Dhoni? And over the years, they're showing Dhoni takes stumpings of Jaddu, and it's just magic, man. Honestly, like it's just
Crazy.
oh emotional.
I can't think of a better note than that to wrap up on. So, congratulations to CSK fans. It's been outstanding. 10 points, just great to see showing up strong. I mean, it's going to be an interesting run. By next week, I think we might have at least two or three of these top four sides look very different. But at the moment, your teams in playoff contention are CSK, Rajasthan, Lucknow, and Gujarat. But a lot of sides right at their heels just on net run rate. So don't be surprised if Bangalore, Punjab, or even Mumbai have showed up, moved up in the order by then. DJ, before we join them next week, let's do a quick fantasy league update.
Of course, you want to
You're,
do a fantasy
I mean,
league
I'm doing better than you,
update.
but I'm still in 16th. I had a rough weekend, unfortunately. But I had David Visa captain because I thought KKR's brought him in. They're going to use him. They bowled him 3 overs. He gave too many runs and he didn't really bat. So
Mm,
16th for me. I'm sitting in 16th.
that's not
And
bad.
I had to scroll a little. You're all the way down in 51. So you got a little bit more work to do. And I still don't think Varun has actually joined the league. So that's always fun. But I know I'm playing against him and he's got 99,907 points. So if I was to assume where Varun is, he would be around 29th. So still doing better than you,
Okay,
but
that's not bad.
has a little bit of work to do. In first place, staying up though, and we
By the
noticed.
way,
I'm gonna
yeah, you're
say
gonna tell. Okay, you. I
last
sent you the
week,
screenshot.
last
Insane.
week's top three who we mentioned were Thurup Gulan, Grandmasters 11, and Master 11 are apparently, allegedly, all brothers, which is unbelievable when you think about 109 teams playing in this league, and many, many, many of you who listened over the years. One of them has won before and actually won some merchandise from us after, out coming from that, and all three of them are at the top. Right now, it seems like there's some sibling rivalries because Grandmasters 11 has dropped to 8, Master 11 has dropped to 10, but Thurup Kulan is still at number 1 in the Edges and Sledges fan league. So nice run. There is a team in second, Kansan, which is 8 points behind you, and Pranav's one in third place is only a couple hundred points. So it's heating up, just like the CSK points table. The Edges and Sledges fan league is heating up too. If you are not in it yet, join us. We will add the league code to the show notes, and it's also on Twitter, Discord, etc. This has been fun. Another big week of IPL cricket ahead of us. Stay tuned. Enjoy watching the IPL, etc. Right into us. We always love hearing from you. Twitter, Facebook, Instagram at One Tip One Hand, or contact at onetiponehand.com if you want to email us. We'll be back next week. Like us on YouTube, subscribe, give us that 5-star rating on your Spotify platforms or wherever you listen to podcasts, and we will see you next week. Thanks for joining.